So we had been to the state finals 3 years in a row, in 2001, 2, and 3, and had lost each time.
We had graduated like all of our studs. In 2004 was like our year where we had kids going to college to play volleyball. We had high profile players, and we lost to districts that year. And they'd all graduated. So I remember Dan and I being like, okay, this is gonna be a different year.
Honestly, when I looked at the district draw in the regionals and semis, which I always did as soon as they came out, I was kind of relieved to see that we would run into Marysville in the semis. One of the things that somebody else challenged me to do was to watch film of our previous losses. So his name was Trent Smiley, and at the time I was like, no, I really don't want to do that. It gave me a blueprint of which to try to set, to set up our team and to build our system so that we wouldn't get beat again by that team.
It was funny because at first no one thought that we were going to be good. We had lost 4 really good players the year before that, and we were just like, oh, hopefully they get 500 this year.
Well, especially when you're new and coming in and everybody's not really sure, what you're going to do and how things are going to go. It's always one of those situations where, if some people are kind of down in you and not real sure about it, you're like, oh, well, we're going to prove them wrong, and we're going to, show them that we can really do this and we can win. And starting out, we didn't always have the aspect, obviously, of the coaches knowing, what's coming ahead, looking ahead. We came to practice, just ready for working on our next opponent.
The beginning of the year was really different. In the years past, we had kind of come in and it was like you never missed a beat. It was like the same team again, so you kind of knew exactly what to expect. And Potts threw a curveball definitely that year. He mixed it up a lot. Like, it wasn't the same drills. It was, you had to learn new people and you had to learn new positions, and you didn't know how everyone played together, so that was really different. And it was just a lot more learning each other and how to play, really. I mean, how to play as a team.
Because of the personnel we had to utilize a different system than I had ever done. We used to run a 5-1, which is just 1 setter and 5 hitters. And this was the first time I had ever put into play a 6-2 offense, which meant your setters were always in the back row and you'd have 3 hitters in the front row. But in the end, it ended up being a strength for us, simply because of how Natalie played and the development of Danielle Brink, who was a freshman.
Caitlin and Ashley Dormeyer were our middles. They were our only really big kids at all. Everybody else was about 5'6" across the board. And we weren't huge, we weren't fast, we weren't super talented, but we had a lot of kids that knew about volleyball and had a lot of kids that had that passion to win and had that passion to be successful, and they tasted it. They knew what it was like to be in a championship game because they had done that when they were younger. And they also had the feeling of, man, we know what it feels like to lose the districts and what it feels like to end your season early. And they just had a lot of resilience to say we weren't going to do that. It was a special group.
It was scary to be a freshman and have Lindsay Bale as a senior. I know I was intimidated just because she was so good. So it took a little while for me and Rachel to get acclimated as part of the team, but it was really just a very cohesive group. I think that's why we did so well. It didn't take very long for us all to just play, and we really all just wanted to win. There was really no other thought that went into it.
As we progressed through the season and we continue to develop this team concept, the sacrifices that were made and players they would buy into the fact of, hey, it's my turn to sit. But they were always ready to go. Our serving developed very well. And then in about January, the players didn't know this, but the coaches did, and this was part of the game plan, is we actually started to incorporate an offense that we knew would be successful against Marysville.
But I do remember Coach Potts, like he in practice, we would always practice like the back set to Jackie Guile. Like I would always do that. But he didn't want us to really to play that when we were at districts, because he knew we could win without really running, I guess, that play. And when I think that also happened at regionals is where we played Fremont, and I can't remember who else we played at regionals. Someone, but we really didn't run that play either, and Coach Potts was like, oh, well, you know, it's okay. And then we played Marysville, and Marysville wasn't even blocking on that side, and that we ran that play the whole game. And I remember still like watching the video, and we got a lot of kills on that side during that game, and they weren't expecting it. So.
He always had a plan towards the end of the season. You know, we would do something different so that we weren't scoutable, and that's something for me that I've taken from him as a coach, that I think is a great coaching philosophy.
But I would say definitely halfway through the year, it was kind of when it clicked, like, wait a minute, this is a really good opportunity. And our coaches actually had a different theory that year, and they always would tell us we're not as good as we think we are. so that was really frustrating and really motivating, because it was like, wait a minute, you don't know what you're talking about, and we're going to prove to you that we're better than you think we are. And that stood out with me a lot, because it made me really mad. Like, no, we're good, and we are as good as we think we are.
It seems like we'd always have to go to Houghton Lake, or we'd have to go north and east significantly for the quarterfinals. So that leads us up to this, what was considered, I would say, an epic match with Marysville. And going into it, it was one of those things that, or one of those matches where, once again, I don't think I was expecting to win. We had been a victim of Marysville so many times that, you know, you almost get to the point where you're feeling defeated. You know, they kind of have your number. But oddly enough, we played extremely well. In the first game, we're up big. I think we're up probably 6 or 7 points, and something odd happens, and we end up losing the first game.
It was good. After the first game of Marysville, when we lost that first game, I knew that we could beat them. Like, I knew that they weren't that good. I knew that we were better. And so when we actually did lose that game, I tried to tell the team, like, you guys are not that good. Like, we definitely can beat them. And then we won the next 2 games.
We were able to do it because of the flexibility that we had. So we brought Autumn Williams in to play middle, and Autumn was a sophomore too, and she was part of that sophomore core of players that were very talented and were doing whatever it took for the team to win. So she played a lot that game, and moving Dormeyer to the outside was different. And it was very successful for us for the middle 2 games, because we rolled along and won by, reasonable score, good scores. And then we get to game 4, and finally Marysville's picking it up. They've kind of found their fire, and at the time, remember, they're 58-0. They haven't lost yet. It's fun to think about that now. 58-0. And they had won 8 state championships in a row. So the beast is starting to rise up in Marysville. So when we go to game 5, we actually go back to our regular rotation, which means we move Dormeyer back to the middle, and we do some unique subbing, because we had some subbing, and I remember we would run, we would actually had Autumn Williams playing some left side, but for one rotation we just knew it wasn't as good. So when Nicole and I were talking about it with Cassie and Brett, because we had done some charting, and we just said, okay, why don't we're going to run Rachel Fights into this one rotation. And she knew she was going in for just one rotation she was going to play. But just knowing that was huge, because everybody knew what their role was getting into that 5th game. That's one of the plays we always talk about too, is remember the play that Danielle McGrady made, and it led to a long argument, and we get the point, which there was so many times in the Marysville battles that we didn't get the break.
Definitely the McGrady table dive save, whatever you want to call it. That was a standout. I will never forget, like, just thinking in my head, like, please get it. Don't hit the table for nothing.
I remember this clearly. I remember we had all these scramble plays, and we had this crazy Dan Potts playoff thing going on where, you know, Danielle McGrady played middle. Danielle McGrady had not played middle since like 9th grade, maybe 10th grade, I don't know. But D-Mac was like, okay, coach, I'll do it. Anything you want to do. And we were worried about it. We thought, you know what? This is a great system because Danielle was playing middle. Ashley, who had always played middle, was playing outside because we wanted to throw some wrinkles in what they thought we were going to do. And I remember us digging a ball and D-Mac sprinting all the way over to where the scores table was, crashing into the scores table. That was exactly what D-Mac was, though. I mean, we always said Danielle would have run through a wall if she could to play the ball. And you know, D-Mac wasn't a super flashy player, but she was just one of those role player kids that made those plays. She flies over to the score table, passes the ball back inbounds, and somebody, I believe like it was a perfect set, and my sister went up and crushed it. And I thought right there at that point, I remember looking at Potts and us going, we're gonna do this.
Marysville sides out, so it's 15s, and then we side out. And frankly, I can't remember how we did it, but it may have been, you know, a Comer kill or something along that lines. Well, now Danielle McGrady's into the front row. In the last point to this day, and I've watched the replay many times over, I'm just not sure the call, whether it was right or not, but I'm certain it was right, is that the last play when we got the touch call and the euphoria just to finally get the, to end that era of not misery, but I would call it of just, you know, not getting over the hump was a big deal.
Best day ever. I was a little disappointed, I will admit. I wanted to see them in the finals, but the semis, it was just like the finals for us. Like, they had taken it from us so many times, and we wanted it for, you know, for Nicole, we wanted it for Fights, Duznik, we wanted it for all those people that had been there.
It was amazing. I mean, that game was unbelievable. You know, we did so many, you know, we were very Marysville-esque in that match. We never let the ball hit the floor. And I talked a little earlier about that group's resilience to win and to be successful. And I think that's what won it for them. We just never stopped. We kept pushing and pushing and fighting and going, and we just never backed down. I mean, there were plenty of times where we could have backed down. I mean, we won in 5.
The adrenaline rush was incredible to finally have that opportunity to really celebrate a victory over Marysville on the biggest stage. And this is back when we were still in Kalamazoo and at Western Michigan. And, you know, I had done it before where, you know, you're so full of energy that, you know, I'm running around the court, and it was just seeing the touch call, you know, to look over at the line judge and watch them going like this, and they've got their hand here, and the official goes this and awards us the point and does this to signify the end of the match, and you know it's over.
So I felt like we had already won once we beat Marysville, to be honest. Like, I was like, oh, you know, we're gonna play some Otsego team. Like, who are they? Like, you know, like we got over the hump. Like, we won.
It was that I remember that game as kind of a blur for some of us also, just because it was like Marysville was our big game, and once we got past Marysville, then it was kind of not really that we kind of brushed Otsego off, but it was almost like we had the big game behind us already.
So we get to the state finals and we show up, and it's interesting because you're just happy to be back there and you're happy to still be playing.
I remember my sister being really tired, and Potsy and I were worried because, you know, like I said earlier, we relied on her for a lot. We rode her back, and we needed one more game out of her, and I remember talking to her before the game saying, you know, we just need one more game.
Game 4 is, we're in cruise control. I mean, by the time we get to mid-game, we've got a 7-point lead. Match point is a roll shot down the line by Lindsay Bale. and she hits it, she cuffs it down, and the line judge calls it out. And Fusaka looks at her and she goes, "It's in, and it's over." Obviously euphoria again. And I would say that is when the culmination is complete and you're just very satisfied to finally, finish off and win the first athletic state championship in Fruitport history.
And the thing that stood out to me about interviewing them was it was not just for them. It was a win that they dedicated to the rest of the girls that had gone before them. They were always talking about the tradition paved the way and just how it meant a lot to them, but they really dedicated it to all the girls that didn't get a chance to get that state championship that maybe could have or should have, if not for those Marysville teams standing in the way. And that was pretty cool.
All right, up next, you say volleyball and people automatically think Fruitport, right? Quite a great volleyball tradition. I remember my quads still hurt when I saw Coach Potts today from all the squats and lunges he used to make us do. 2004-2005 volleyball team state champions. After several runs, including state run appearances in 2001, 2002, and 2003, the Trojans claimed the first state championship in school history. Head coach Dan Potts and the crew faced the New York Yankees of volleyball, of course, the Marysville Vikings, in this historic semifinal match. In the dramatic match that lasted 2 hours and 10 minutes, the Trojans stormed back from a first game defeat of 23-25 to win the next two, 25-19, 25-19. Marysville took game 4, 25-14, setting up the thrilling fifth and deciding game. The end came with a Daniel McGrady kill that deflected off a Viking defender, giving the Trojans a 17-15 win and ending the Marysville 8-year reign as champions in Class B. Lindsay Bale had 16 kills and 28 digs. Ashley Dormeyer and Jacqueline Dial had 8 kills apiece. Many fans may look back and remember only that Marysville match, or even forget that it was Otsego that we faced in the finals. 2 days after the Marysville match, the Trojans dropped the first game 23-25. After regrouping, Fruitport won the next 3, 25-20, 25-22, 25-20. Ms. Bale once again, 22 kills, with Ashley Dormeyer adding 12. Natalie Knuth dished out 28 assists. Dormeyer led with 5 aces, and Danielle Brink served 3. Caitlin Comer had 6 kills, 6 blocks. En route to the championship, the Trojans lost just 1 game prior to the Final Four and ended up with a memorable 53-6 record. Of course, one thing I think a lot of us, if we were there at that match, remember too, were the fans. Fruitport has great volleyball fans, the guys with the painted chests, right? A great group to cheer them on as well. There's a quote that kind of reminds me of this state championship team too. What we receive too easily, we value too little. I think all those losses in prior matches kind of encompass what it took to finally get that state championship during the 2004-2005 season. I heard that Coach Potts would finally get his team back in the day when it would go to Kalamazoo, when the finals were in Kalamazoo before it was in Battle Creek at the Kellogg Arena like it is now. If the team would get to Kalamazoo, Coach Potts had a special dance that he would do. So as Coach Potts and the team come up here, I think that's the only appropriate way that he should come on the stage, right? Coach Potts and the volleyball team. You don't remember that? Oh, yeah. We are going to list the girls from this 2004-2005 state volleyball team that are here today. Head coach, of course, Dan Potts. Assistant coach, Nicole Bale, who also went on to win state titles in 2010 and 2011. Assistant coach, Cassie Christopher McFarland. assistant coach Brett Nordhoff, Jamie Allen, Danielle Brink, Caitlin Commer-Dyke, Kristen Follett, Jacqueline Guile, Lindsay Bale-Hardley, Natalie Knuth, Daniel McGrady, and Autumn Williams. I think we should get some music for Coach Potts. Maybe that'll help him. Yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, Head Coach Dan Potts.
Good evening, everyone. I promised that I would actually prepare a speech because give me a microphone and a crowd and I might go for a long time. So, on behalf of the Fruitport Volleyball Program and the 2005 State Championship team, I want to thank the committee for this tremendous honor of being inducted into the inaugural class here at for the Fruitport Hall of Fame. I know that there was a lot of effort that went into this. So I'd also like to congratulate the other inductees on their previous accomplishments, and that led to their honor also. So we're very proud to share this event with you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the last two matches, if I could just bend your ears for a second. It wasn't part of my initial speech here, but since the video wasn't going to come, I just wanted to tell you, for us, it was such a neat occurrence. When we started out our season, we didn't necessarily feel like, as a coaching staff, when Nicole and I were talking at the beginning of the year, whether or not we thought that this team had all the pieces and parts that it took to be a championship team. But little did we know that they had something else in store. And, you know, championships are special, and they do require a significant number of ingredients to happen. Dedicated and talented players, supportive administrative and school staff, nurturing parents, visionary and goal-oriented coaches. And for the 2005 team, we had all this. And we had more. We had a tradition that paved the path and paved the way for us. And there was many other teams that made valiant efforts to be that last team standing at the end of the season. And we always had tremendous community support. Once we started going, people climbed on board. And one of the things that really gives me chills is to know that on a snowy March night, we had 3,000 people down in Kalamazoo that came to watch us play Marysville. And it was that victory was probably about 99 to 2000, it's about 6 years in the making. But we actually started to prepare for that team in January of that year. So we actually started to put into our practice plans how we were going to beat the one team that we hadn't been able to really get by in the state tournament. And little did people know, and little did the players know, that we actually worked on stuff every day just to beat them. So, and we talk about that now to this day, and they didn't realize that at the time. And then we would tell them that there's certain plays that you would learn, but you weren't supposed to run them in other games because Marysville was notorious for taping, and we didn't want them to have any information. And for you coaches out there, I mean, what Nicole and I would do, and Brett and Cassie, is we would sit down and say, we watch our tape and say, how are they going to beat us too? So we spent a lot of time on that. Those aren't the only ingredients either. We did have a group of guys called the Trojan men that really deserve a lot of applause. A unique group of young men that started back in the mid-90s or the late 90s by a guy by the name of Brian Netzler, who's now a volleyball coach at Grand Valley. So another thing that was interesting as far as the ingredients go is the opponents that you play and how good they're going to be. And a fact that's known is Marysville was 58-0 when we beat them. So that felt pretty good too. 2005 team was a work in progress from the beginning of the year, and I can't honestly remember at the beginning that they were the team that could pull it off. I talked about that, and amazingly, they made us believers. I mean, we talked about a statement, and we talked about this last night, and they said to me, I said, what do you guys remember? And they said, well, you always told us we weren't as good as we thought we were. I said, you weren't. We did lose 6 times, so. I tried a different system. As a coach, we used to run a 6-2, and we actually ran with 2 setters, and that was different for us. And I did something unique with 12 players on a team. They all played every match. I can't remember too many times when they didn't. And it was unique because we had 2 freshmen, I want to say 6 sophomores or 5 sophomores, 1 junior, and 7 seniors. Or close to that, 5. Help me out, 6 seniors. So, but playing them all really helped to build their confidence and create a cohesive unit. And one of the things that the players talk about is how much they liked playing with each other. And that was another major ingredient. And through their solid work ethic and that cohesiveness, it brought them to be their best at the most critical, intense times. And believe me, when we were up 14-12 in the the semifinal versus Marysville, and I kind of thought we were going to win, and then they scored the 13th point and the 14th point, and then I'm not going to lie, I started to go, oh my God, again. And then something else happened. I think we had a kill, and then we got a defensive play, and then we got the McGrady kill, and an officiating call that was on our side. You got it. And that was history. You know, the coaching staff spent a ton of time preparing, and that was Cassie and Nicole and Brett, and significant energy, and they deserve a lot of the credit also. There's also a couple other coaches here, Jeannie McLean and Terry Laring, who are our middle school coaches, and they really helped to create the foundation, you know, for these young ladies as they were coming up. There's one other thing that I wanted to touch on is when we went into the season, or the end of our seasons, we would dress up in Hawaiian shirts. I don't know if you guys all remember that, when we'd make those runs and we'd wear these loud and flamboyant shirts. Well, if you look at some of the pictures, we were wearing plain blue shirts, and what we said is that really reflected our blue collar work ethic. And I don't know if it made the difference, but I would tell you the blue collar work ethic was phenomenal, and I think it did. So, at this time, I'm gonna wrap it up, or maybe I should talk about the Otsego match for just a second. That was an interesting one too. We did lose game 1, and then coming back and winning games 2, and a lot of people don't realize this, but game 3 was really the pivotal game for us. Because we subbed so much, we ran out of rotations, and which meant I couldn't sub anymore. And because we would normally play 10 or 11 kids in each game, we ran out. But I'll say this is a credit to all the hard work that we would put in and on all the fundamentals. But in the end, we had front row players playing back row, and back row players playing front row. And to come out on top in that third game, and basically I knew that we were going to pull it out at that point in time. And it was very satisfying, I will say. I hope you all get to see the video, because you will see a crazed man running around, and you'll see a lot of players that are very excited, and a lot of people that were very excited too. Like I said, it's been an honor to coach for Fruitport, and for me it was 16 years, and that was in my 14th year. So at this time, I want to introduce the captain of the 2005 state championship team, Lindsay Bale Hardley.
Hello. I would just like to speak on behalf of all of my teammates, which unfortunately not everybody's here tonight, but those of you that are here, I think I can speak on your behalf that thank you so much. It's such an honor. It's one of the coolest things, and to be the first state championship, and it's just been an honor. And every time that us girls get back together, it's so much fun, and we get to see how much support we got from the community. And I mean, a lot of the things I was thinking of, Coach Potts touched on already, but it's about the tradition of Fruitport volleyball, and it's the community. And like he said, how many fans we had going in that gym, and the lights are blaring, and you have the Trojan men with wigs on, and everybody has all these different color shirts on, and you have people from Ravenna supporting us, after their game, and people from Class A. There's nothing like seeing those other schools feeding off of the energy that our community brought for us, and it's an unreal and surreal feeling. And I just have to tell one story. Jamie Allen and Jackie Guile and I ended up going to Taylor University. Jamie was there for 4 years, and Jackie was there for 4 years, and I transferred there. And it was ironic because one of the girls that was on our team was from Marysville. And I lived with her my senior year, and I will always remember one thing. So she's in her room, and she's got all her state championship rings on, right? She's got 3 of them on her hands. And she's like, just kind of bragging about her rings. And I thought, but I have the only one that was important. I have your senior year. And we're sitting at Coach Potts' place last night, and he's got this whole box of volleyball stuff, and we find this picture of it's Marysville and Capitals, and we got it circled and crossed out, and I have to say, Jackie and I took a picture and we sent it to Katie. We just had to do it, and she was like, why do you have that sign that that is terrible. But anyways, it was a fun opportunity to get to play against, or with Katie, who we played against. But anyways, it is just such an honor, and it's just so cool to see everybody here, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Matt Brink.